Hi everyone, Ed Robertson, hoping you're enjoying the holiday weekend. We are taking a few days off ourselves, and we'll be back with a brand new edition of TV Confidential next week. In the meantime, we thought we'd bring you what we'll call a blast from the past, an excerpt from one of our conversations that you may have heard before, but probably haven't heard in a long time. We hope you'll enjoy.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Hi, this is William Schallert, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Hey, Max, look. Professor Pheasant.
Well, what's he doing in a telephone booth reading a book?
That's not a telephone booth, Max. That's a glass cell.
Of course. They've got Pheasant under glass.
Ed Robertson welcoming you back to TV Confidential, a radio talk show about television that is pleased to welcome Miss Barbara Feldon, the actress known throughout the world as Agent 99, Maxwell Smart's better half in every sense of the word on the long-running, groundbreaking comedy series Get Smart. But while 99 continues to live happily ever after in TV land, along with Max and the twins, in real life, Barbara Feldon found herself at a crossroads many years ago when her 12-year live-in relationship came to an end, and she suddenly found herself faced with the prospect of actually living by herself for the first time in her life. After panicking about it at first, Barbara discovered, with the help of many friends, that living alone is just a state of mind, and that no matter what your age is, there are many, many ways to enjoy a full and enriching life without a housemate or live-in life partnered. Barbara talks very openly about her experience in a great book called Living Alone and Loving It, a guide to relishing the solo life, which we will tell you more about in just a second. But first, Barbara Feldon, welcome to TV Confidential.
Oh, thank you, Ed. It's lovely to be here.
It is lovely to talk to you. Believe me, your book is very clever in that it is not a show business book, although there are certain things about your acting career that you weave in and out throughout the various pages. It is not a book about your life per se, and yet it is very personal, very revealing, and there are times when you bare your soul. How did you come about that particular approach?
When I found myself on my own for the first time, because up until then I'd lived with family, then I had roommates, and then I was married, and then when that broke up I was with someone else immediately for the next 12 years. So over a period of 20 years I lived in a married situation. Mm-hmm. Not a youngster anymore, and even though I had always entertained the idea of living on my own and never had the opportunity to, I found it was more challenging than I had expected. And it was through, frankly, some therapy and just exploring that over a period of time I began to really relish the experience, the freedom of it, the ability, the opportunity to know myself better, the opportunity to choose friends, have them over whenever I want, not be just a couple, a half of a couple, but a whole of me. Mm-hmm. And so I rolled along for several years enjoying this, and more I was meeting people who lived on their own and kept thinking, this is a half-life when I've got to meet Mr. Right or Miss Right, and my life is incomplete. And I thought, wow, that's not the experience I'm having. And I think they're looking at it through an old lens, and maybe I could kind of polish that lens a little bit and show what an opportunity they have right now, and how grateful they should be, because if they end up in another relationship, they'll have missed this opportunity if they're just sort of moping through it. Mm-hmm. So I did a lecture at a place called Seminar Center here in New York, and realized that it was the basis for a book. And then I found an agent, and she sold it to Simon Schuster, and that's it. And the book has been sold all over the world. And here's the thing, Ed. In every major city, in every industrialized country, 50%, about 50% of everyone is living alone, living by themselves, okay? And in New York, it's 49%. And yet, you don't hear much about it. It's still, I think, in our consciousness, still a kind of a negative thing, that we are alone, when actually we are almost 50% of the population. I think that's an astonishing thing to realize when you see mostly in the press how to meet someone, I need to have a baby, and yet, the birth rate is way, way down, and this is choice. People are choosing this, and yet we're not noticing it. It's like this parallel sociological thing is happening, but it hasn't sort of made itself into the media. And when it does, like the New York Times did a thing on people who live by themselves a few weeks ago, it's like a big deal. But it isn't a big deal. It's common. It's 50% of us. And I think it's time that we acknowledge the pleasures. Doesn't mean you can't have a relationship, and it doesn't mean you can't live with someone again. But while the opportunity is there, it is golden.
We're talking to Barbara Feldon, Agent 99 on Get Smart, and the author of Living Alone and Loving It. Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the TV Confidential podcast, or better yet, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or wherever you listen to our podcast. One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.